Okay. Okay. Okay, good morning. Welcome to the Baltimore City Senate delegation meeting. It's Friday, March 13th. Um, and I'm calling this meeting to order. I see that we have four senators present. Senator Hayes, Senator Attar, Senator Ferguson, and myself.
Yes.
Thank you. And myself as chair. Senator McCray is not able to make it this morning. We have some old business. We have a reconsideration of an amendment for the Baltimore City stop sign monitoring system, a pilot program. Uh, Kelsey, are you here? Katie. Yeah, Katie, can you tell us what the amendment does and also remind us of what the bill is?
Sure. So the bill is to authorize for 3 years a stop sign monitoring system on state and local highways in the Mount Washington neighborhood in the 41st Legislative District. And then the amendment would modify that to not just the Mount Washington neighborhood, but the whole 41st Legislative District.
Okay, and it mostly the purpose of the amendment, which was my amendment as a chair amendment, was to make this edition of the 43rd district exactly the same as 45th and 46th district. Also, there's no other sort of sub geography, um, in state law currently. So we wanted to, other than in Baltimore City, and so we felt like that it should be consistent. Okay, all those in favor of the bill of this amendment, say aye.
I, but Madam Chair, may I be heard on my
Oh,
vote to explain my
oh,
vote?
oh, of course. Sorry about that.
Thank you. So I expressed my views about this amendment last meeting. It became clear that the letter of support was not being sent without this amendment. So I am going to vote in support of this amendment. And I ask that my colleagues do so as well, so we can send a letter of support to JPR so this bill can move forward. Thank you.
Okay. Um, oh, Senator Tar, what was your reasoning for the using Mount Washington, saying that Mount Washington was consistent?
So this is a pilot program,
Right.
and Mount Washington community wanted to try this out and see if it'll work for them. And other areas in my district are not interested at this time in having this pilot program. I know you said that the city of Tacoma Park is an entire city, but it's not an entire legislative district. And so I was asking for the pilot program for it just to be Mount Washington, but I understand the chair disagrees, and I'm fine with the amendment so we can move this bill forward so it does not get stalled. So my constituents in Mount Washington can have this.
Okay, all righty. All right, so we will send a letter to,
Madam Chair, can I ask a quick
yes,
question?
yeah,
I'm sorry. Can I just get a better sense of understanding
yeah.
what happened here?
Okay, so in reviewing the bill, and I also talked to look through the law. What Senate Bill 877 did was it added a section 3. So in this law, the way we added the ability to have a monitoring system pilot program is that you add a section to this newly created section that allows this to operate. First, it started with the 43rd district, 45th district, then it's the 45th district. And then this bill was adding a section 3. However, rather than stipulating it as Baltimore City, rather than stipulating it as the 45th, as 41st district in its entirety, it's specified Mount Washington. I believe I sent an email, to the sponsor, and also, oh, actually, so in noting the drafting of the bill, typically when we designate a area, so two things. One, there was no other legislative district thus far had just done a sub portion of the district. And point two, which is even more importantly having to do with drafting and the clarity of the bill and its efficacy. Mount Washington is not a recognized geographic area, and typically in our state law we don't stipulate neighborhoods, but rather streets. So I suggested or said that if it had been census tracts or street, like we do in the alcohol law. So last week, I guess past this Monday, I hadn't really anticipated that there'd be any opposition. I saw it simply as a technical amendment, just for consistency as chairs do. So that's why I proposed it, for it to be clear and consistent through state law. And the sponsor did not wish to move forward with that. The sponsor said that there was examples in other portions of state law where this type of thing would happen, and in this portion of the code. I reviewed that. I did not see that anywhere where just a neighborhood is discussed. I also discussed it with a couple other committee members. So I said, we can't really move forward with this amendment without an amendment, because Mount Washington isn't sufficiently determined in law, and two, that it would be inconsistent with what had been happening. So it wasn't the chair was, so I appreciate the opportunity. And again, quite surprised by this level of resistance in simply making sure that this section of the code flows and is operational. Does that?
Sure. I mean, I thought we had voted down the amendment last week.
Oh, okay.
And then voted the bill forward. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess if there was a concern about the language of Mount Washington, I'm concerned about a district being added without the resident senator supporting it. If it's an issue about outlining the area of Mount Washington, I think that's
and
naming
that is
street boundaries.
And I'm fine with however we go forward with that. But if that's what needs to happen, but I believe, again, I sent an email to the delegation clearly explaining my concerns about just having it as Mount Washington, and did indeed suggest that there needed to be specific levels of geography. Now, you can.
You guys mind if I jump in
Yeah.
in the effort to try to see this along?
Yeah, thank you.
So she supports the amendment. I think this is a pilot, and so the vendor that's going to be performing it, we're authorizing it or enabling it for the whole district. It still gives an opportunity.
Thank you. Yeah.
For the vendor themselves just to focus on the neighborhood that's been identified, and then any other neighborhood in the 41st. I think if all hearts and minds are clear, and the sponsor is okay with it, and the chair is okay with it, we should just go ahead and figure this out. I think the motion on the floor originally was to reconsider anyway to take this amendment, which we approved. So, if all hearts and minds are clear, we could just wrap.
I appreciate that. And again, I'll just say that I
know it's a long agenda today.
Yes, thank you. So is there any reluctance to move forward?
So,
Mr.
Madam Chair, what was
President.
move the previous question?
All right. In favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I gotta say, I mean, I do think that the procedure does matter. If it's a reconsideration, I didn't know, Senator Hayes, is that your motion because you were supportive of the prevailing side? If somebody, it would
Yeah,
be out of order to reconsider on somebody that was not,
That is
that
correct.
not prevailing.
absolutely.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, and
Correct.
in
Correct.
fact,
No, it is my motion to reconsider, but with the amendment.
Okay. I have, I've not had a situation where we had supported a bill and a letter had not been sent. I just think that is something that we have to be very clear about moving forward,
well,
that
I agree.
a bill that is supported by the delegation at a vote should get a letter sent to the committee.
well, well, okay, then let's review this if we want to do this. So I believe last week we also reconsidered, we had an amendment. We had supported a bill. We were holding it. I believe we sent the letter. But we wanted to make some amendments. So we were sending an amendment, to adjust the bill. So again, as chair, I don't believe it makes sense for us to forward legislation that is not that's not drafted properly or is not drafted properly. So if it's the opinion of this delegation, and I don't believe it is, that as chair, there's no responsibility to ensure that the products that we send from this delegation make sense, which is, what I'm trying to do. So, Senator Ferguson, are you voting against the amendment? Because I do believe we're following the procedure. In the agenda, which was circulated yesterday, I said there's reconsideration of an amendment. And so the sponsor said that they were willing to have the amendment reconsidered. So I'm not quite sure what
I understand that,
procedure is
Madam Chair. I
now
would say,
being followed.
I think supporting it because a letter wasn't being sent this is the first I'd heard of that. And so that's where, if it's a sponsorship if it's a support because a letter isn't being sent, I think that's different than supporting it because it's a belief in the policy. And I think that that's the distinction. I just think that we have to be very
The policy of drafting
clear.
legislation that is consistent with the code. It's not the policy decision of allowing the pilot program to proceed in the 43rd district. There's no opposition to.
If it was the 43rd, I would totally agree with you, Senator.
No, the 40.
It was not the 43rd.
I mean, the 41st.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I guess I appreciate what you're attempting to do, Senator Hayes here. I just want to be very clear that this is not, while the tone set, unfortunately, at the beginning of this meeting was set up as if the chair had a personal opposition or something to some component of the bill. That is not the case. And it's unfortunate that it was presented that way, and it's unfortunate that Senator Attar is perceiving a technical amendment as something other than what it is. I believe with Senator Hayes, that's a very useful and helpful intervention, is that none of this is requiring that the entire 41st district participates. That it sounds as though it does allow for there to be a designation. But I did not think that it's makes sense or is appropriate or reflects well on this body to send legislation out that is not consistent with, I don't know how many times I can say that. So we can either not vote the bill, you can send the bill, and then when the committee gets the bill, the committee will say, oh, what is Mount Washington? How do you define Mount Washington? And then it can sit in the committee and wait for that, for them to decide to get an amendment to put the streets in or put the census tracts in. So at this point, I'll leave it up to you all. There is a motion on the floor. I support it. Hayes supports it. It needs another one to pass. And if not, if you want to send it to the committee as drafted, happy to send the letter. Again, this is what I thought my job, it's not my thought, it is my job to.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. Yes.
Madam Chair. So as I said, I would support the amendment at this point to move forward because I do want the bill to move forward and it's been stalled already for a little bit. But if I can ask a question, if we can amend the amendment, right now we're changing it to the 41st, that just leaves your district and Senator Hayes' district out of this. So I would ask that we include all districts and move forward with the entire Baltimore City as part of this pilot program.
Hell no, I never wanted to be a part of it. Nope.
Neither do we.
Okay, but we want to add my entire district. Okay, Mr. President, I appreciate your support. At this point, I'm going to ask that we move this amendment the way it is, so this bill does not continue to be stalled because my constituents in Mount Washington would like to see this, and I don't want them to be at a loss because of the dynamics of what's taking place now. So I would ask that we move forward with the amendment and we send a letter of support with the amendment. So my vote is aye on the amendment.
I vote no on the amendment and I'd move the bill favorably as amended.
Second.
Okay. All right then. Thank you all very much. You got an opportunity to see the cheese, the sausage being made. We will move forward. We're getting a briefing to hear about the CEO search for the Baltimore City, for their CEO. And we're going to hear from Robert Solly, Board Chair, Baltimore City Board School of Commissioners, and Asia Park, a Board Vice Chair, Baltimore City Board of Commissioners. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm just going to do a slight amendment on our vice chair. She's Ashia Parker.
Okay.
So we appreciate the opportunity to be here with you guys today and are proud to talk a little bit about where we are today and entertain any questions that you may have. I'm going to attempt to share my screen. Oh, I have to send a request, but while we're waiting for that to come through, we can start with just a high-level overview. So we have been proud to host a nationwide search for our superintendent search. We have anchored that in community needs. We've had an opportunity to have a number of touch points across the space that has given us an opportunity to get to know more and put together our thoughts as we put together this robust search. I just got the approval.
Great.
Let me give you this. There we go. Can everybody see the screen?
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. So this is where we are in the process here. And we thought this was important for you guys just to have a good sense of the work. And really, even though this timeline here shows that we began the work in summer 2025, it really began far earlier than that. We had an opportunity just to get a good sense of, how other districts in Maryland have handled searches previously, as well as other districts nationwide, and decided to put out an RFP that allowed us to work with a nationwide search firm based upon what we learned in community engagement. We launched officially in summer 2025 with early recruitment from our search firm that allowed us to garner interest for the position and get a good sense of, what the pool might look like. We worked the fall. We stood up our ad hoc committee, which we're very thankful that Senator Hayes, along with Delegate Smith in the House, were able to be a part of that. And it gave us an opportunity to really think about, what the process design would look like. One of the main points of that is to anchor that in the community engagement, which will show a little bit more detail about what we learned in that process coming up. That stakeholder input allowed us to design a position description that was put out on the street and to kick off the official advertisement. We spent November, December, and January doing robust recruitment for our search. which yielded approximately 100 candidates, which was pretty large in the process. And then we began interviews late December into early January in our first phase, which took us into two very distinct phases in January and February of semifinalist and finalist rounds, which we are just wrapping up. And we remain on track for extending an offer in March and April for our new candidate. We're spending this spring, as we have promised our community to do, is making sure that we had an opportunity to think about a thoughtful transition from Dr. Santelises and team to our new superintendent, with the goal that there would be overlap between the two superintendents to have that cross-pollination, the cross-learning. But we're spending time as a board working with Dr. Santelises and transitioning knowledge and other information throughout the process. Vice Chair Parker, is there anything you wanted to add on this high-level timeline?
No, just to piggyback on what you said, additional thanks to Senator Hayes and Delegate Smith for all of the work that they put in to get us here. A lot of work got us here. And as you see, we are basically at the end.
All right. Share just a little bit more about what we learned from the community. This is what we feel really proud about in terms of close to 5,000 or over 5,000 unique touch points with the community. Mayor Scott hosted a telephone town hall to kick off the search, and he did that in coordination with the board. We had about 3,000 residents in the city of Baltimore turn out to share and entertain questions from the board and the mayor about the search and what we should think about at a high level. We did a number of community gatherings that allowed us to have touch points at different regions and cross sections of the community that allowed us to talk to parents, residents, children, and students overwhelmingly turned out in this process for us. Our interview and focus groups, we went a little bit deeper with key questions and allowed us to understand what the needs are. And we purposely divided that by the roles that you see here on the screen that allowed us to go deep into the issues that are important for them. And then we hosted a community engagement survey where we had about 2,700 students that responded to the student survey, and then many more in the community engagement. And we highlight the student portion. We really wanted to work very diligently to ensure that our students, our end users, our most important stakeholder in this work, that their voices were amplified in what we were hoping to craft inside of that position description. Here's a little bit about what came out of that. And we just recently released a deeper dive on the community engagement and published a report. We're happy to share that with you and make sure that all of you guys have an opportunity to review that in depth. But a couple of key things emerged. And so one, recognizing that across the district, our schools are uneven in terms of how families and scholars receive their services here in Baltimore City, or how their services are implemented. And so recognizing that there are schools that are of various sizes, that there are funding challenges, that there are staffing needs, especially as we are starting to understand, where populations of the city are moving, where there's new growth, and especially as we're welcoming more English learners and multilingual families into our communities, and recognizing that our staffing model hasn't necessarily kept pace with that. Facilities, and one of the things I want to highlight here that was talked about is recognizing that spaces matter. We are proud that we've had a number of new buildings open up underneath Dr. Santelises' tenure, and I will say an unprecedented number of new buildings have opened up, but not every one of our schools has a 21st century up-to-date modernized facility. Transportation. We know that the vast majority of our children, because of the way in which they select schools here in Baltimore City, take public transit, and that has a huge effect on start times and how our young people are able to get to school. And that is something that we know will need to continue to be addressed in the coming years. And then as we look to the future around CTE programming, recognizing we have more to do in that respect to make sure that we're considering how best to support our young people and earlier grades, not just at high school, not just at the senior year, but in middle school and elementary school around college and technical education, those post-secondary endeavors. Academics was a huge focus. That is what we're here about, to ensure that our children all have a high quality education here in Baltimore City. And, when we're looking at things like our attendance rates, we're looking at our graduation rates, we're looking at proficiency. We know mathematics is an area that needs key focus. We know our young people are looking for greater opportunities to be engaged in their education, to expand course offerings across our district. And so that was heard pretty resounding. And then lastly, I think this is felt by everybody in our system, from staff to our students here in Baltimore City, is how our operations impact the way in which we deliver services. So the city has been the city school system has been spending a considerable amount of time and capital investing in both our human capital and our procurement systems to make sure that they're modernized to meet our needs. As we'll share with you more details in our community engagement report that allowed us to put a fine-tooth comb on that as we move forward. So all of this culminated into a job description that we put out in the street to recruit and open up our candidate pool. And we wanted to make sure that we understood, the responsibilities, which were pretty standard from any superintendent search that was put out there. And then the competencies is the how that we wanted to make sure that our leader, that was tied into what we want our leader to do. So as we conducted our interviews on the right-hand side, these are the areas that we really focused on in their backgrounds and their interviews, which allowed us to narrow that pool down from the 100+ applicants to a final set of candidates for the board to review. I would say out of all of these competencies here, we would see strong progression from key candidates in the process. So from visionary and strategic leader, instructional operational steward, innovative and data informed decision maker, allowed us to assess not only competency, but fit as well for our city. And that takes us to the end. I will offer in this conversation today in that enhanced community engagement report, we did put out a set of focus areas for priority areas that we'll work with our new superintendent on. As we discussed in that last quadrant there, that our goal is to ensure that this spring and into this summer, that we're clear with our candidate that we select, what are the areas that we want them to focus on in year one. At a high level, we expect that our candidates are a visible part of our community, that they're engaging with all of our stakeholders, policymakers, as well as community members, to really understand what the needs are, how services are being delivered today, and where we go underneath this new tenure. Vice Chair Parker, anything additional you'd like to share?
Well, if I could just interject, would be, and again, you saw we had a lot more discussion early on than I anticipated. So I think what we really want to get very clear on is exactly where are we in the search.
Yep.
I know you hired a firm. Perhaps let people know a tiny bit about what that process is and what's next.
Yeah.
Then I'll open it up a couple for questions for our members, and then we'll move on.
Yeah. So I'll let Vice Chair Parker take this.
I think I'm good. I will. Oh, you talking about where we are? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So I was answering the first question. So we are at the end. We are finalizing everything with the finalists. We are just at the point where we will make an offer, and we're looking to have a public reveal, if you would, or announcement in mid-April. So from here, the attorneys will be taking it over as far as negotiation and that kind of thing. And our plan is to reach out to each and every one of you individually to let you know where we landed and how you can participate with the announcement.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Any questions from the members? Okay. All right, then. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming. And we look forward to greeting our new person.
Great. Thank you guys for having us today.
Very important role in our city.
Very, very important. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
We'll go on. We'll have another very important thing in our city, of course, is our communities and having innovative approaches to public safety. Last year, we established the Neighborhood Services Unit program, and we have in the Sheriff's Department, and we have Baltimore City Sheriff Sam Cogan here to tell us about it.
Great. Well, first of all, thanks for having me, and thank you, Madam Chair, right? And thanks to the senators. I just want to start by saying, like, I truly appreciate the confidence that you had in the sheriff's office and in me to establish this unit within the sheriff's office. Whenever we try something, it's always a risk, and I think that you're going to be happy with this presentation, and I think you should be happy with where we are right now in the implementation and actually some of the enforcement actions that this new neighborhood services unit is taking within the community of Baltimore to work with the liquor board. So I just wanted to thank some people. I want to thank my staff who's working there. Joe Smith, who's running the neighborhood services unit, which he comes from a really great investigative career. He was the senior investigator for the Insurance Commission, so brings a lot of investigative experience with him. And then John Christomalis, who used to be the chief liquor inspector, actually made it through the police academy. He's transferred over to the sheriff's office as a deputy sheriff, and he's out in the field doing these activities, which is a really great thing because he brings all the knowledge that he had while he was at the liquor board, and now he's a deputy sheriff. I also want to thank the chair of the liquor board, Randall Templeton, which is great. Great relationship we have with them and all the commissioners from the past and from now who worked on and established a memorandum of understanding with the sheriff's office, and that's in place about how we're going to work together. And all the staff, both in my office who were going out and doing the work, including the deputy sheriffs and the liquor inspectors, Michelle Weitzberger over at the liquor board, and Douglas Page. We're all working together in cooperation in order to go out and make sure we're looking at alcohol establishments and trying to do some enforcement work in the city that the community is looking for us to do. The last group I want to thank are the young men and women who are the cadets at the sheriff's office who are under the age of 21, who are actually going out and purchasing alcohol or trying to purchase alcohol in order to see if we have underage sales to minors. And that's really a great program that is part of neighborhood services. And it's also a great feeder program because these young people are being mentored by the sheriff's office and hopefully will be our next generation of deputy sheriffs. So I want to sort of jump into something that and we have our PowerPoint up. It's very brief. And if we can go to the next slide, that would be great, right? It will sort of talk about where we are. So the law took effect on October 1st, and we executed the memorandum of understanding with the liquor board for commissioners, which establishes our cooperation between the two groups. I think the senators, you have this. If not, we'll send it again so you make sure you have a copy of this. And what we do is we plan activities. People call 311 and make complaints, and we plan how we're going to assist the liquor board in going out and addressing these complaints. And the operations focus mainly on underage sales to minors, if you're selling to kids, or if you're non-compliant, and you say you're a tavern and you're really not a tavern and you're acting as a carryout without allowing people to sit in the bar. And so it's been a great source of information for the information that the liquor inspectors get and the liquor board gets, and information that the deputy sheriffs get, and combining that and really having a good intelligence component to find out what's going on in the city and what are the problem bars and neighborhoods that we should be looking at. We also get that information. I like to go to the community association meetings, and I try to go to quite a few. And we always ask, what is your problem bars? Where are you having problems within your neighborhood? So we can put those and look into them as well. Next slide, please. So we're looking at the investigative period. So we've conducted 47 joint investigations with the liquor board of liquor license establishments. And let me talk about a good thing first, which is the second bullet point. We went and for probably the first time ever, checked every single A license, which is the no sales on Sunday license, and there's over 100 in the city. And so the sheriff's office went out and we looked at every single one of them, and every single one of them was in compliance, which is great. It's good to hear. Like, so over 100 establishments that aren't supposed to be open and selling alcohol on Sunday were not open and selling alcohol on Sunday in Baltimore City when we went out and looked for that. And I think that was great. We also, again, send our cadets in with a sort of an undercover operation, and the cadet will go in and try to purchase alcohol. And that's one of the things that we do. And a lot of this comes from, again, places that have been on the 311 list for a complaint about selling to minors. Next slide, please. So I want to make sure that we, thanks, that these investigations go across every legislative district in the city. We've been very mindful that we're not sticking to just southern or southeast where there's a large concentration of alcohol establishments. We make sure that we've been very equitable in how we go through, but it's also based on the 311 complaint list, and these are the citizens making complaints. We're getting community referrals or referrals from colleges and universities. Next slide, please. And so yesterday was a really good day because I think it was the culmination of all this effort, and it was the liquor board commissioners hearing where 20 cases that the neighborhood services unit was involved in for underage sales to minors and also some BD7 violations made it in front of the liquor board for adjudication. And out of all those 20 cases, there was 20 guilty findings, which was great. They got found guilty on every one. And I saw some of I've been involved in this work for a long time. I was a deputy myself and came up through the sheriff's office. And, this is some of the most significant fines I've seen with underage drinking. I believe one of the establishments was ordered closed for 5 days. And so, it's really good to see that everyone's taking underage drinking seriously, and that we were able to show some results. But this, again, it was a concept that the Senate believed in the sheriff's office. You guys passed legislation. And yesterday we had 20 violations because of that went in front, and we had guilty findings with high fines and closures. So, it's really good to see it what's the quote, when a plan comes together. And so I think that, I think all of us should be pleased with the results that we're seeing. And I believe that's it. So last slide is staffing. So this is, neighborhood services is made up of deputy sheriffs that are coming from other units, and usually they're going out and working on overtime. There's no local funding right now for the neighborhood services unit because our budget was established before the unit took in effect. But we've been very lucky and very strategic. I don't want to say lucky. We've been very thankful that the Governor's Office of Crime Control and Prevention awarded us a grant that we applied for, and we received $100,000 in grant funding to go out and do this activity. So we were able to sort of self-fund this with cooperation from the Governor's Office of Crime Control and Prevention. And so we're on track of that, and that's going to be important. Little plug, like we're still underfunded for court security, and that's driving our issues. More funding we had for court security, the more deputies we would have to take out of court and actually go and do this kind of work. But, I think that it's great that we got that grant from the governor's office. And as we go into our next budget cycle, I'm excited to see what we can do now that we have proof of concept that this unit is doing some great work. And thank you again. Right, I can take any questions that anyone may have.
We had a press conference at the beginning of the summer last year to really talk about, kicking it out. I'm sure that I'm trying to see if any members have any questions. I don't see any hands. Okay.
Yeah, and so this was mostly about, we'll talk about alcohol and the liquor board. We're also working with the alcohol, tobacco, and cannabis commission and looking at sales of tobacco to minors, which we know is an important issue. And we're also looking at cannabis sales from these tobacco stores that aren't supposed to be selling that. And so that's also another function that the neighborhood services unit is working on.
Thank you. And I'm assuming that you're going around to different community associations and explaining and organizing. Are there some areas of the city where we could get more support, or where, we'd like to target more in terms of these neighborhood units?
Yeah, so again, I try to attend at least one community association a week, right? And I always ask when I'm there, and our people ask when they're out, do you have a problem bar, right, or alcohol establishment or store that's causing difficulties? And when they say yes, we record that information. We vet that with the liquor board to see if they also are having 311 complaints associated with that, or community complaints, and that's how they make it on our radar.
Great.
So yeah, it's directly from the community we're receiving these issues so we can serve the community. And we're, again, being very intentional to be everywhere in the city, not just in specific legislative districts.
And then my last question would be, I know in my district, in some of our districts where there are, parks, large parks, et cetera. I think you mentioned about the parties that are held. There are promoters that have parties. Is there, in the city, is there an interaction between the Department of Recreation and Parks, or their park officers and sheriff's department, or the neighborhood, when it comes to these types of issues?
So we have a great communication with Rec and Parks because we're supporting the ranger program that they have.
Right.
So we could get information that way. But yeah, one of the great things, again, that the Senate did when they passed this bill is that the deputy sheriffs have law enforcement authority, so they can address those additional complaints. And we have looked into a couple of like party promoters that are in places that they're not supposed to. There's no liquor license. We've looked at that a couple times. And we looked at pop-up parties that are targeting young people that are under the age of 21 and selling alcohol illegally outside without a license. So yeah, that is something that is very much on our radar.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Again, I don't see any other questions. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, sure.
And speaking of alcohol, we're going to move into our bill hearings, and we're going to start with, I guess, the recently released Senate Bill 972, Baltimore city liquor license. We're going to have Michelle Wurzberger, welcome again, to hear about the bill. Senator, you also have an amendment
Yeah.
as well, but we could hear the bill and then there'll be an amendment.
You guys hear everything?
I can hear
Can you
you.
hear me?
I can
Oh,
hear
great.
you. Yeah.
Excellent. So this bill 972 is a very simple bill. I'm glad that the Rules Committee finally let my baby free. It is a local 40th district bill that creates two licenses, one for a restaurant that you all may know that's familiar to many Baltimoreans called Darker Than Blue. Will be locating in the Pigtown community. And the other is Keiju Creamery. Keiju Creamery no
yeah.
anything of that nature, both Black-owned small businesses where they will consume on the premises. But Keiju want the ability to use alcohol as some of its ingredients and serve it there on the campus. So those are the two licenses that we're creating. The amendments simply makes amendments to the restrictions on hours of liquor establishments in the southwest part of our district down along the Wilkins Avenue corridor. And that's the bill. And once we get through questions, I would just ask that we move the bill as it will be heard today in Senate Finance so we can make crossover.
Okay. All right then. All right, so we can hear the amendment.
Oh, those were the amendments. The amendments are to make adjustments to the
got it.
Yeah.
Okay, any opposition to hearing the bill and voting it the same day? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Okay, thank you very much. All right, then we will move on to our next bill, which is Senate Bill, sorry, trying to We'll move on to our next bill.
879.
Thank you, 879.
Thank you, Madam Chair and colleagues. Senate Bill 879 opens archery hunting for deer in Baltimore City on every Sunday of the deer archery hunting season. Many of my constituents have reached out to me about concerns with deer in Baltimore City and in their neighborhoods. And we have seen the city administration actually is taking some action and helping with that in our parks. This would specifically open it up. We're not having sharpshooters that the city is taking care of. This is just archery hunting. And it also reduces consistent with other areas, like, for example, in Montgomery County, the safety zone from 150 yards to 50 yards. The city administration supports this legislation. They submitted a letter of support. We also have the Mount Washington Community Association submitted a letter of support as well. 20 out of 23 counties already do this. Again, it's only adding Sundays. Already, you can do this on other days of the week during the archery hunting season. This just adds Sunday mornings, consistent with about 20 other counties in Maryland. And I do have over here just Michael Pearson. He's a constituent of mine as well, who had brought this piece of legislation to me originally. And if I can turn it over to him, Madam Chair, I'd appreciate that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, senators, for permitting me to address you. Thanks to Senator Attar for sponsoring this bill. I did submit written testimony to the Senate Education, Energy, and Environment Committee, and in the interest of time, I just want to hit the high spots today and not repeat anything that Senator Attar said. But the basis of this bill is that open space in wooded areas is critical to the physical, emotional, and mental health of our citizens, and the overpopulation of deer, which has increased exponentially over the past couple of decades, is seriously challenging the sustainability of wooded areas in our city, throughout the city. The Rec and Parks Deer Management Program has really addressed this very vigorously, and as you may know, they are actually at the point now where they're going to do deer removal in city parks with sharpshooters. The issue is that doesn't really do anything outside the area of those parks. And I've consulted extensively with Shane Bainey, who's the manager of the Deer Management Program, and there's really nothing on the horizon that's going to help areas outside the parks. So permitting archery hunting and reducing the safety zone so as to facilitate that would be a way to address deer overpopulation in other areas of the city. As I submitted in my written testimony, the safety record for archery hunting the data shows that it is not posed a public safety risk, and that's due to the very limited range of bow hunting. Unlike firearms, it's got a very restricted range, under 50 yards. I would simply point to the Montgomery County program, which has been very successful in reducing the number of deer and the impact upon the environment. Finally, and I'd be happy to take any questions, in addition to the letter of support, there's also a letter of support from the Friends of Silburn Arboretum, which is also being heavily stressed by the deer overpopulation. Thank you for permitting me to address you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I forgot the most important part. I'm addressing you as a private citizen and not in any official capacity.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any questions for this witness?
Oh, well, I have a question. I'm not sure if it's for the witness or for the sponsor, but I know Baltimore City Rec and Parks have a new wildlife chief there. Have they had a chance to review this legislation and opine upon it?
So I haven't spoken with them directly, but the mayor's office submitted a letter of support. They have reviewed it and they support this legislation.
So if the mayor's office supporting it, I would imagine they vetted it through Rex and Parks. So I think it's safe to make that assumption. Okay.
If I may say, I really requested this bill after consultation with the wildlife conservation head of the deer management program. And I don't want to say, it was at his suggestion that I moved forward with this. I'll put it that way.
Yep.
So just we have the committee or we've received some letters of concern with constituents. I'm just wondering, Senator Tar, have you have you gotten anything? We've got 4 letters, emails that were sent, writing to vote against the bill. I think, there's a Greg Nass that I think is in your district. There's a couple others. So I guess I'm just trying to get a sense of,
I'm looking.
did they reach out to you on that, or did you?
No one has, and like the testimony that the committee heard, the Triple E heard, there was absolutely no opposition. There was a letter of information from DNR that it was a letter of information, but it was supportive. But nobody has reached out to me with concern. I have not heard from anyone directly.
Mhm. So I would, okay. All right, I'll have a follow-up in that I'd like to have possibly an amendment that would pull the 43rd district out. I have gotten concerns, particularly about the moving it from 150 to 50 yards. And just so that the delegation knows that this does come to Triple E, and when we get these bills, there's usually a deep concern expressed about the proximity, not to the idea of bow hunting, which is already allowed in areas, but the component of adding it on a Sunday where people who ride their horses or run, et cetera, that's the one day that they know that they can feel safe in these areas. So I want an opportunity to check in with my constituents, and then perhaps an opportunity to draft an amendment that would exclude, the herring run or components that are within the 43rd district.
Okay, and Madam Chair, if I can just comment about the 150 yards to the 50 yards. The reason for that is because when you're hunting with archery, it doesn't go very far. So that's what the reduction is for. With a sharpshooter, it's different. They can have 150 yards, but with archery, in order to be successful, it's a limited amount of space.
Right. And again, I understand what you're saying, but the proximity, again, the geography issue, the proximity to residential housing of some of our parks would be such that a bow, could in fact go into a neighbor's yards. And in fact, particularly along the herring run, constituents already have expressed concerns to me about people illegally shooting with their bows. So I just really want to make sure that despite the city's support, that I can, really can check this out.
Okay, and I don't have a problem with excluding Madam Chair's district. I would just ask that we do try to keep this moving, because as you know, crossover is coming, and this bill has already been heard in in the committee.
On Tuesday.
I know it was delayed a couple times in our delegation to be heard, so I just want to make sure we keep track of the time.
Okay.
Can I get a second bite of the apple?
Yeah.
One, you guys might not know this, but my dad is a very avid hunter. He hunts all of his meats. And so I get it. He's always wanted this to happen in the city and would be very happy. And I would be very happy to support him. So weird thing, but that's what he does. He enjoys hunting. Question though, for the sponsor, I should have asked this before, and I was channeling my Corey McCray. Is there any notification requirements to the public or surrounding area that someone might be hunting in the area?
So that's a good question. I don't know the answer. I can skim through the bill.
It may be in current law, I'm not sure, but could you, I know since I thought we were going to vote on it now, but if we're not going to vote on it now, you just let us know whenever you go up in the
Absolutely.
If it is, just like with any bill, there's our motions to vote, and you can move it forward. Again, I'm going to just sort of publicly, I have to, as chair, convey that no bill is held up. We have hearings, we meet the deadlines. I believe, we have in no case held up bills. And so would appreciate refraining from that type of characterization of the actions of the chair. So if there's a motion, let's do it.
Yes, well, I would ask Senator Hayes, are you comfortable with me moving the bill forward without the answer to that question?
Yeah, because I still have the floor. So I could
Yes,
come
you
back
do.
around
So,
if we
yeah.
really, if we really had an issue, which I don't think I would imagine that they have it in law. So yeah, I'm cool with moving.
Okay, so I'd ask to move it favorable.
Okay, all those are
Second.
favorable?
Aye.
Second.
Okay, one opposed. All right. So we will.
Hold on. Well, did that just include that included the amendment to take out the 43rd, right?
I'll do that in committee.
Oh, okay. All right. Cool. All right. Is that it?
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, that's good. So now I think we did it. All right. Okay. Any announcements for the good of the group?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you say yes?
Hey, yes, ma'am.
Mm.
Am I recognized, Madam Chair?
Yes, you are recognized.
Okay, great. Hey, I don't know how many of you all have read the Baltimore Sun this morning, but there's an article in the Baltimore Sun about the liquor board citing over 20 businesses for underage drinking. One of the very first bills that I passed when I came into the House of Delegates in 2015 was to raise the maximum threshold by which the board could issue licenses to those individuals who were serving underage drinking. So I was really happy to read this morning's article that the board is taking this seriously about underage drinking in our community, specifically those repeat offenders. I believe the highest fine that was levied was a $4,500 fine for a repeat offender in the Sandtown Winchester community. We have heard over the years complaints about the over concentration of liquor establishments in our district, and the fact that they don't necessarily present themselves always as community partners. And so I just wanted to pause just real quick and applaud the liquor board and its staff for their efforts in attacking and enforcing the issue around underage drinking in the community.
Okay, thank you for that. Anything else? All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Madam Chair, do we have an opportunity to go into executive session after we adjourn?
Yes, we can.
Obviously not to take any votes, but to do something.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, we can stay on. We can, we're gonna close the meeting officially, so